The law makes us conformers. We can be rule followers, but we do very well with following rules in public. And we see that all the time in church, right? We give people rules in the Bible, especially in the Old Testament. We give them all these rules in the Bible, and then we tell them, follow these rules. And if you follow these rules, that will make you a good Christian. And if you follow these rules, then you will go to heaven, which is not the gospel at all, which is not the message of Jesus Christ, which is not what the Bible is really about. That's not what the biblical story is about. But people will take certain parts of the story and make it the whole story when that's not the whole story. Get the whole story first before you go and talk about certain parts of the story. And that's why I was motivated when I did the Read and Rant to read through the entire Bible with you all, was because I wanted people to read the whole thing first. Because when you read the whole thing, then parts of the whole make sense. But when all you do is read certain parts and you read it in piecemeal, you don't get the full picture, and then you miss out on the message, what this actually is speaking about. And of course, the Jews are missing out on it here because they've lived it. We see it all through the Old Testament. Even the prophets spoke into this, right? The heart of stone that they had, that they weren't alive in God. They weren't alive in the message and the presence and the promise of God. They followed these rules, but then in private, they were somebody else. This is the problem with the church today, is we've reverted back to this idea that somehow if we can just tell us all the rules, tell us all the rules to follow. And when we follow these rules, then God will love us. Or when we follow these rules, then God will receive us. If we follow these rules, then we'll be justified. If I follow the rules in the Bible, then I'll go to heaven. I know some of y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. Following the rules in the Bible will not get you into heaven. Following every rule in the Bible faithfully will not get you into heaven. Following Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1st, 2nd Samuel, 1st, 2nd Kings, 1st, 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, and Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Songs. You can read all through it: Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, Daniel, Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah. You can read through all of those, and you can follow every law, every rule, everything written in there. And even though you followed everything that was written there and did everything that they did, even after you gave your life to Jesus, because of course you've got to give your life to Jesus. And after you give your life to Jesus, even if you followed all those rules, they would not be good enough. Following rules does not get you into heaven. And God's plan for you wasn't just to comply to some rules. He wanted you to know him, to be in relationship with him. Salvation is knowing God. It's knowing God. And too many people know the rules, but they don't know God. Too many people have been told, do this and don't do that. Do this and Jesus will love you. Don't do that so God doesn't hate you. Don't do that so that God will love you and affirm you. And so we have all these people who follow all these rules, thinking that following the rules somehow gives them closer access to God, or gets them a ticket into heaven. Salvation is not insurance from hell. Salvation is to know God and to be in relationship with him. And too many of us have been looking to follow the rules and to tell me the things I got to check off in order to go to heaven. And this is the problem. And that's why we have a lot of fake Christians. We have a lot of fake Christians because we've somehow lied to people and told people, if you follow rules, then your life will be changed. If you follow rules, then you will go to heaven. If you follow the rules, then God will love you and affirm you, when it was always about transformation, not about information and conforming to the information. It requires the Spirit of God. And too many of us are trying to do things, and in the end, all we're doing is actually pursuing the acceptance of the people in our churches, in our groups, in groupthink. And so we're never really honest with anybody. We're never really open with anybody. We never actually share what we're really going through. And the reason why we're not sharing what we're really going through, because we don't want to be rejected.